Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I'm going to be running this one solo, so let's jump into it. In the American League, Kansas City took 3 of 4 from the Angels. Houston took 2 of 3 from Detroit. The White Sox took 3 of 4 from Cleveland. Seattle took 2 of 3 from Oakland. Minnesota took 2 of 3 from Toronto. The New York Yankees took 2 of 3 from Tampa Bay. In the National League, Atlanta took 2 of 3 from the Mets. Chicago took 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh. Milwaukee took 3 of 4 from St. Louis. San Diego took 2 of 3 against the Dodgers. San Francisco took 2 of 3 against Cincinnati. And the Phillies took 2 of 3 against Miami. Lastly, in our interleague matchups, Baltimore took 2 of 3 from Arizona. Boston took 2 of 3 from Washington. And the Colorado Rockies swept the Texas Rangers. Now looking at how we did this past weekend, I went 11-4 in my predictions while Blake went 8-7. Though Blake does still lead at 114, 65, and 14. While I have 104, 74, and 16. Now let's move on to this next week's matchups. Starting off in the American League, we have the Toronto Blue Jays heading into Baltimore to take on the Orioles. I'm going to go ahead and take Baltimore on this one. They are going to get Corbin Burnes in this series as well as Kyle Bradish. And the Blue Jays just lost another series because they couldn't hit. So I'm going to go ahead and take the O's in this one. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Rays heading into Boston to take on the Red Sox. The Red Sox are coming off of a series win of Washington. I'm going to go with the Red Sox in this one. Tampa has been playing better baseball of late, but it is a 4-game series, so I'm going to take them to at least win 2 games at home. Next up, we have the Cleveland Guardians heading into Texas to take on the Rangers. Both these teams had a brutal weekend, Cleveland losing 3 of 4 from the White Sox and Texas getting swept by Colorado. Over the past 10 games, both these teams are 5-5. Texas is going to be at home in this series. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Rangers pretty much off of a gut feeling, nothing else. Next up, we have Oakland heading into Houston in a 4-game set. I'm going to go ahead and go with Houston in this one. They just took a series from Detroit. Oakland seems like they're coming back down to earth. I think Houston could get back on track here. I mean, if they win 4 games against Oakland, they could creep back into the AL West picture. They need something like this right now. But I feel good about them at least winning 2 games in this series, so I'm going to go with Houston. Next up, we have the Kansas City Royals heading into Seattle to take on the Mariners. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Royals in this one. Seattle's pitching's been electric over the past 3 weeks, but Kansas City has more wins on the season. They just have been the better team up until this point, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Royals, but I do think it will be a close one. Rounding out the American League, we have the Yankees taking on the Minnesota Twins in Minnesota. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Yankees on this one. Everybody knows that the Yankees tend to own the Twins for some reason. So, yeah, it's going to be a good series. Minnesota's been hot, but I have to go with history. Yankees in this one. Heading into the National League, we have a really weird 4-game set coming up. It's going to be the Phillies versus the Mets, but 2 are going to be played in Philly and 2 are going to be played in New York. So, kind of strange, especially against division rivals. All in all, though, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Phillies. We're going to call it a 4-game set here. I think they'll at least win 2, but realistically, I do think they do win 3 of 4, at least from this Mets team. They just haven't been playing consistent baseball while the Phillies have been red hot. So I'm going to go ahead and take Philly in this one. Next up, we have the Rockies heading into San Diego to take on the Padres. I am going to take the Padres in this series. Yes, Colorado's a bad team, but really, because San Diego just took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, that was a very impressive win in their own ballpark. So I'm going to go with the Padres in this one. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Reds heading into Arizona to take on the D-backs. I'm going to go ahead and go with Cincinnati in this series. They've been playing pretty bad baseball of late, but they've been playing a lot of close ball games, and at some point, you would think that they can pull some out. Arizona has just been not as good as advertised, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the Reds to get it right in the desert. Next up, we have the Dodgers heading into San Francisco to take on the Giants. This is a rivalry matchup, but the Giants are losing Jung-Hoo Lee for a while. He crashed in the wall today. I'm going to go ahead and take the Dodgers to get back on track against the Giants. They just lost to the Padres, but it's their first loss in a couple weeks as far as series goes. So I'm going to take the Dodgers in this series. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates heading into Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. I'm going to go ahead and take the Brewers in this one. They've just been playing great ball the entire season. While Pittsburgh, it seems like they've fallen off of a cliff. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Brewers. They've been really consistent, and hats off to them. And lastly, we have the Chicago Cubs taking on the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Braves in this one. It's hard to pick against them at this point. Chicago, they've been playing really good baseball, so it should be a pretty good series. Shota Imanaga is on the mound in Game 1, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs went into Atlanta and found a way to win, but I am going to take the Braves at home. Looking at our interleague matchups, we have the Washington Nationals heading into Chicago to take on the White Sox. The White Sox just won 3 of 4 against the Guardians, and nobody was expecting that. While the Nats are playing 18-19 ball, almost 500, they've been a lot better than what people thought they were going to be, so I'm going to take the Nats in this series. Next up, we have the Miami Marlins heading into Detroit for a 3-game set. I'm going to go ahead and take the Tigers on this one. There's not much to say. Miami's already traded Luis Arraez. They're pretty much in the dumps at this point. It's a rebuilding season. And Detroit needs to get back on track after losing to Houston, so I'm going to take Detroit to win this series at home. Lastly, we have the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Salt Lake Bees in Anaheim. I'm just kidding. It's going to be the Angels. They're missing Mike Trout. They're missing Brandon Drury, Anthony Rendon, Luis Rengifo, you name it. While the Cardinals have Arenado, they have Goldschmidt, they had Contreras up until this past week, and the Cardinals are only 1 game better than this team. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and take the Angels at home. The Cardinals, they're looking like they're starting to be a problem. This is 2 years in a row. Both of these teams' futures not looking very good. That's going to do it for this one. In review, my picks are Baltimore, Boston, Texas, Houston, Kansas City, New York, Philly, San Diego, Cincinnati, LA, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Washington, Detroit, and LA. And Blake's picks are Baltimore, Boston, Texas, Oakland, Seattle, New York, Philly, San Diego, Arizona, LA, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, and LA. Thank you guys for listening. We should be back to normal on Thursday. As always, appreciate you guys. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.